So it would seem that this is the end of CHAZ. Local businesses are filing a lawsuit against the city because the police have effectively abandoned them. Now, the funny thing about this lawsuit is that they're still, for some reason, bending the knee to the protesters, saying, we're not speaking out against the protesters. We're just upset with the city. And this is funny because we were told over and over again that they actually love the domestic terror zone. This story from the Daily Beast: local businesses love the domestic terror zone in Seattle, actually. What the story actually is the obvious businesses willing to go on the record praising the unrest because the other businesses know that if they speak out against it, they'll have their windows smashed. This is your new reality. If you want to challenge what these people are doing, they will target you. So you don't speak up. Well, I think that's a bit cowardly. And the people who are filing this lawsuit are also, in my opinion, very cowardly. Because then the only thing that happens is the businesses that like what's going on will say it's great. And then the media will write all these articles saying it's great. And then no one has any idea that you are suffering. Well, if you don't stand up for yourself, don't expect other people to step up for you. So here's the story. Capitol Hill businesses sue Seattle over handling of CHOP zone. Dozens of Seattle businesses claimed in the suit the city's policies have effectively authorized the actions of the CHOP participants. King 5 reports a collection of Seattle businesses, property owners, and residents is suing the city over its tolerance of an occupied protest zone, saying officials have been complicit in depriving them of their rights to their property. The plaintiffs, including a tattoo parlor and an auto repair shop, emphasized in the lawsuit filed Wednesday that they were not trying to undermine the anti-police brutality or Black Lives Matter messaging of the Capitol Hill occupied protest. In other words, please don't smash our windows, but we need to do something. Nah, you know what, man? I get it. But you need to stand up to the people who are doing this to you. It's such a pathetic move to be like, it's the city's fault that we won't defend ourselves. The city should have done it for us so we could cower in the corner. Maybe if you all got out of your stores and said F off, people would actually start listening. Now, I'm going to read you this story, but I want to show you this clip here posted by Mr. Ian Milestrong. In this video, for obvious reasons I can't play the full thing, we see a man who has had enough. He quite literally begins flipping the tables. It's an excellent metaphor. There you can see him about to flip one of the CHAZ tables. He's grabbing barricades, lifting them over his head, throwing them into the tents and the gazebos. He's had enough. And he says, F y'all, time to go home. And he flips several of their tables over. Well, there you go, man. This is somebody who's willing to stand up to the mob, to their faces, destroy the barricades, and to flip the tables. It's an excellent, it's an excellent metaphor, I guess, analogy. It's very symbolic. If you know that, you know about the flipping the tables, right? Of course you do. If you don't, Google it. Here's what they say. This lawsuit is about the constitutional and other legal rights of plaintiffs, businesses, employees, and residents in and around CHOP, which have been overrun by the city of Seattle's unprecedented decision to abandon and close off an entire city neighborhood, leaving it unchecked by the police, unserved by fire and emergency health services, and inaccessible to the public at large. The city's decision has subjected businesses, employees, and residents to that neighborhood to extensive property damage, public safety dangers, and an inability to use and access their properties. Are the poor cowards trying to act like the protesters have no responsibility, but then clearly pointing out it's the protesters doing it all? Look, I understand why they're suing the city. I get it, right? The city should have come in and cleared out the protests. Jenny Durkin is an insane individual who allowed this to go on for too long. And now you have 4 shootings in 3 days. That's on you. A lot of people wondered why that would be. And I'll mention in a second, but I want to stress, business owners, you spoke up and said nothing. When they were putting out propaganda to act like this was a favorable thing that everybody liked, the public opinion was positive for the CHAZ, you said nothing. In this story from the Daily Beast, one of the author of which frequently lies, they say a few unnamed businesses were apparently upset. Here's what they write. Seattle police circulated their own talking points about CHAZ. We've heard anecdotally reports of citizens and businesses being asked to pay a fee to operate within this area. Assistant Chief of Police Deanna Nolet said on Wednesday, this is the crime of extortion. If anyone has been subjected to this, we need them to call 911. They then go on to say, without evidence, not only is that not true, local business owner Gay Gilmore told the Daily Beast, but some businesses are actually opening to protesters for the first time. And then you see how they play this game? Not only is that not true, local business owner says. How would one local business owner know if other people have been victimized unless he went and talked to literally every single one? If people are telling the police it's happening, and so they're hearing reports, but they need an official confirmation via a 911 call or a police report, then it stands to reason it's probably happening. You see, I'm not going to make the assumption the police are just making this up. I would like to see evidence it's actually happening, but I think the simple solution here and the plausible solution, or what's likely, is that out of the 56 or so businesses, one of them had problems. At least one of them can tell people. People complain about it. The cops hear about it and say, hey, bring it to us. So they find one business owner who doesn't know what these other businesses are doing, isn't talking to them. And this one business owner says, oh, no, it's not happening. Here's what they say. Not only is it not true, blah, blah, blah. Rumors that businesses have actually been tithed or taxed by autonomous zone are absurd, said Gilmore, who owns the Optimism Brewing Company with her husband. No one is doing that here. I have no idea where that idea came from, and I'm in contact with lots of businesses who are in the neighborhood. Lots of businesses. What is lots? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9? It's certainly not 56, is it? That's how many people are. Did I mention that's 56? Here's what we have. 50. I'm sorry. It's a 56 page. Okay, I was wrong. It wasn't 56 people. It is all of these businesses. We have it. So we have Hunter Capital. We have Liquor and Wine. SRJ. Okay, this is a lot. This is more than a dozen. How many people are in this complaint? This is huge. So it's a 56 page thing. But anyway, you get my point. You get this propaganda coming out arguing this. The few concrete claims of discomfort stem from a Seattle Post Intelligencer article that cites unnamed businesses worried about safety and reports of at least one person carrying a gun on the scene. And they go on to say, Washington is an open carry state, although Seattle banned weapons in an emergency order on May 30th, blah, blah. The Seattle Times traced the extortion rumors to a fringe Canadian blog that focuses almost pathologically on overheated fears about leftist activists, blah, blah, blah. I don't care. Look, okay. I think it's fair to say we have very little evidence of the extortion claims. I think it's fair to say that it's a highly contentious area and there have been shootings and people are quite upset about it. I think it's absurd for the Daily Beast to write that they actually love it. Local businesses love the domestic terror zone, actually. That's not news. You found a couple people to back up your claims that it's actually all good and everybody loves it, when in reality, they're suing. When in reality, dudes are literally flipping tables. So please, spare me the BS. But that's what the leftist media does. I'll tell you what, man. So long as people are not willing to stand up for themselves, this is what you will get. And you'll be confused by it. You'll be sitting in your home wondering why it is the media says the bad things happening to you are actually good. That's what I was explaining the other day, right? Andrew Cuomo, governor of New York, looks out his window, figuratively, of course, and he sees roving bands destroying everything. And then he sees everyone else is just sitting around giving a thumbs up with a smile on their face. And he goes, okay, that's what people want, right? The people sitting there shaking with a smile on their face and a thumbs up are too scared to speak out because the mob will come and throw bricks through their windows. Or in one instance, they threw an explosive of some kind from a firework, commercial grade, through someone's window. Nobody will speak up. Okay, well, listen, if you refuse to live on your feet, if you refuse to stand on your feet, then don't be surprised when you live on your knees, okay? If you won't take the risk required to defend your freedom and to make the demands you need to make to live peacefully, then don't be surprised when the authoritarian mobs put you on your knees and abuse you and beat you. That's why I have very little respect for the people filing this lawsuit. Because the opening thing in it is they say, the right of free speech to peaceably assemble are enshrined in our Constitution. I can't even read this this waste of a page. People are expressing their rights, blah, blah, blah. And specifically, plaintiffs support the free speech rights of many of those who have gathered in the Capitol Hill, the CHOP zone. Okay. You know what I would say if I was a judge? Okay, case dismissed. I'm sorry, you can't support the protests, say you do not want to undermine them, and then get upset that the city has responded based on your view. Sorry, businesses. I can respect that they're unhappy. I can also respect that they're scared. No, I'm done with cowards. I am done. If you refuse to stand up for yourself, don't expect someone else to do it. Don't try to use an administrative process to deal with the fact that you don't like what these people are doing. How about you say, We wholeheartedly condemn the people who have wreaked havoc on our community. They have vandalized our businesses. They have hurt our loved ones. They have damaged our homes. They have shot each other on multiple occasions, now 4 times. And the police need to come in and take this area back. Instead, they go, we actually really like what everyone is doing. We love the free speech. We are just mad that the city also likes what they're doing and also respects free speech. Doesn't work that way. We'll see what happens, but I think they seriously undermine themselves. Look at this. The lawsuit does not seek to undermine CHOP participants' message or prevent a counter message. Rather, this lawsuit is about the constitutional and other legal rights of plaintiffs, businesses, employees, and residents in and around CHOP, which have been overrun by the city of Seattle's unprecedented decision to abandon and close off an entire city neighborhood, leaving it unchecked by the police, unserved by fire and emergency health services, and inaccessible to the public at large. How dare you? You know what? I'm sorry. I'm going to say I'm on the side of the CHAZ people right now. I am 100%. You know why? How could they come out and say we support the CHAZ protesters who literally set up barricades and blocked off streets and then actually write, it's the city that did it? You pathetic cowards. Go outside your business and say GTFO. Go to the other businesses and start tearing down the barricades. Because I'll tell you what, man, this dude done did it. This guy right here. You can see him grabbing the barricades. This dude's had enough. He's taking them and he's throwing them. And he says, go the F home. Time for y'all to go the F home. Something like that. Now, this guy I respect. Just like they did, where they grabbed barricades and set them up in the street without the rights or authority. He, without the rights or authority, removed those barricades. Now, dare I say, I could argue he has the right to do so because the law supports him. You can't set up barricades in the street. You can't shut down my neighborhood. You can't shut down my business. So he walks up, flips some tables, throws the barricade and says, enough. And they just watch and they're like, what are you doing, man? Like, what's up, bro? Why are you doing it? Because the only reason people tolerate you is because they fear you. Now, you know what? Obviously, I'm not really on the side of the CHAZ people. To an extent, I actually am. You have a right to free speech and all that stuff, and I'll respect that. But you do not have a right to do what they're doing. I don't live there, okay? So I'm not going to show up, and I'm not going to flip tables and throw barricades. But I'm also not going to sit back as these people try and claim that they can simultaneously support what the protesters have done, barricading off their businesses, and then blame the city for it. I think you're all to blame, every single one of you. The mayor won't take action. I don't know why. This is what I was going to mention earlier. Some people think she was trying to bait Trump. I don't know about all that, right? But it does seem like this thing happens, and then you have the governor and the mayor basically doing nothing. Donald Trump says, take care of it. They say no. And a lot of people think that it was bait, that Donald Trump would then sweep in with the military, the Insurrection Act, and they would all go, oh, no, Trump's a dictator. Oh, no. And he didn't do it. He's like, hey, it's your city, man. You do what you want. And now the businesses are complaining. They're mad at the mayor. I think the mayor's in trouble. I think people are going to be really, really mad at her over this. But think about how pathetic and spineless Americans have become. And I really mean it. I'm sorry, man. Look, I love this country, this Constitution, the founding fathers. And there are a lot of great Americans still today fighting. And to be fair, on both sides. Listen, you could disagree with the left. You can disagree with the CHAZ people. But think about the brazen, the attitude, the presumption. These people showed up and seized this territory. How many conservatives have done anything like that? Now, listen, I understand because conservatives like this country. They don't want to go out and take over city blocks. I'm not specifically talking about taking over a city block. I think that's ridiculous and stupid. I don't mind occupation style protests in parks and stuff like that. But shutting down, creating an autonomous zone and kicking the cops out. Look, if you want to set up a block party festival, I'm actually really, really okay with that too. So long as the cops and the fire department are still, active in the area. But think about what moderates and conservatives have done for the most part. Have they in any way stood up at all to things like this, to guard statues? For the most part, no. Some have. But compared to the left, it is microscopic. 40,000 people showed up in Boston to protest that guy Vashiva, I think his name was. They called him a Nazi. 40,000. I think that's the number. It was a massive aerial crowd. And they fought with cops. I'll tell you what, man. You can insult the left all you want. You can call them soy boys and frail and pathetic. And I think these are apt in many ways. A lot of these Antifa guys are scrawny and whiny and they're having temper tantrums. They never worked a day in their life. And they're from uppity suburbs. But I'll tell you what, that temper tantrum, well, it's also the demand the entitlement. And you can say these are bad things, but they're winning. They are. These business owners think they're going to win with a lawsuit. Let me explain something to you, Seattle business owners. Do you think that if the city actually does lose, that will change anything with the CHAZ? No. They're not all of a sudden going to send the cops in because they already gave up. The protesters of CHAZ, the rioters, the insurrectionists, whatever you want to call them, they've taken your territory and you have done nothing to defend it. So listen, when the police back off, when the city says we're not going anywhere near it, you don't get to complain that you like what they're doing, but you want the city to come back. No, the responsibility is yours to, at the very least, move the barricades, stand out in front of your businesses, put up signs saying, get out. You are destroying what I have built and all that stuff. If you don't have the spine to actually do it, don't expect anyone else to do it. This is, you know what, man, this is a perfect example of what's wrong with the left in general. The CHAZ is leftist, entitled. They say, we're going to make an autonomous zone and take this over because we don't care about anyone else but ourselves. They say they're taking it back from the city. What they're actually doing is taking it from the people who live there because the city is a community. It's not like you stole the territory from the mayor or the police themselves. The police department is paid for by the city, by the people, by the community, by the taxpayer. So you took it back and they spray painted the people department. You realize cops are civilians. Like your taxes fund this. They're not the military. Maybe that distinction's falling away because of the way a lot of cops act. Fine, sure. But listen, these people in these businesses are, in my opinion, the same in many ways as the Chazians, or, whatever you want to call them, the Chazistanis or whatever people are referring to as. They call it the CHOP. Nah, it's CHAZ. CHAZ is better. Think about the lawsuit here. These people seem to think that they too are entitled to everything and responsible for nothing. The business owners are complaining to the city for abandoning them. Look what they said. Close off an entire city neighborhood, leave it unchecked by the police, unserved by fire and emergency health services, inaccessible to the public at large. That was CHAZ. They're the ones who blocked it off, not the police. It's not the police who put up the barricades. So why don't you sue them? Oh, you can't because they have no money? Why don't you condemn them? Oh, you're scared because you're a whiny little coward? Yeah, okay. Your city sucks. The mayor is refusing to do anything about it. The CHAZ is taking what they want, and the businesses are now complaining to the city. You got an administrative Mexican standoff. Everybody's pointing at each other, refusing to accept responsibility, to stand up to the crowd and say no. On June 8th, the city of Seattle abruptly deserted the Seattle Police Department's East Precinct on the corner of 12th Avenue and East. Yes, because the police had received 12,000 complaints from residents about tear gas. Maybe you should have got out and defended your neighborhood. Maybe you should have linked arms and stood in front of those protesters and said, go home. Not in my neighborhood. But you didn't do it because you didn't care. Because it's always someone else's responsibility. Oh, the police should have done it. I shouldn't have to do anything to defend my neighborhood and my livelihood. To an extent, I can respect the arrogance here. We've lived in such comfort for so long that everything is taken for granted. Everyone thinks that they're just entitled to everything, that they don't have to fight for anything. Well, I'll tell you what, these protesters are fighting for what they want, and they won. And now you're complaining? Well, why weren't you supporting the police? Why didn't you come out with Blue Lives Matter signs? Why didn't you come out and defend those police officers? Because you just want to have your cake and eat it too. You don't want to get involved, but you want everything given to you. You don't want to speak out against the lunatics taking over the space, but you want the police to protect you. While the police are being attacked and demonized, you won't speak up in support of them, so they leave. And now you're mad they left. It is truly the whiniest and most pathetic thing I have seen. Now, okay, fine. The local businesses are finally speaking up, and now action needs to be taken. I get it. Okay, good. Then go do it. When the city abandoned the precinct, a number of individuals who had been in the area took control of the barriers and used them to block off streets. In the days and weeks after the city abandoned the East Precinct, CHOP participants have occupied public streets, sidewalks, parks, blah, blah, blah. The city has provided, blah. Okay, you know what? I'm not going to read this. We get it. The property owners, businesses, and residents in the area suffer ever-increasing property damage and economic loss every day that CHOP exists in their neighborhood, all because of the city's active support, encouragement, and endorsement of the occupation. In particular, Jenny Durkin has provided the CHOP participants with not just tangible resources, but also a de facto stamp of approval. Her tweets, interviews, and other statements have made it clear the city is fully aware of what's happening, has no plan or timeline for remedying the ongoing harm, and in fact, view the occupation of Capitol Hill as something akin to a perpetual block party. They do. You know why? Because you didn't go outside and say no. So all the city knew was that people liked what was happening. It was fun. It was a summer of love. Well, now people have been shot several times, multiple shootings in a few days. And when are you going to actually condemn these protesters? What did they say in the very first page? The rights of free speech. We do not seek to undermine CHOP participants' message or present a counter message. Well, their message is, do you know what their message is? They're decolonizing Seattle. So either you're morons or you're cowards. Decolonize. That's what they're talking about doing. They're taking the autonomous zone not because they want a block party. They're doing it because they're tearing down statues and histories of the United States. They're doing it because they think we're on indigenous land. That's what they say. When they take it back from you, that's their message. They're seizing your resources. Oh, you don't want to undermine that. Okay, well then shut up and bend the knee and let them do their thing. Or you can say we wholeheartedly condemn these people. I get it. Sometimes people are lacking a spine. Well, I'll tell you what. At least you finally stood up and filed a lawsuit about it. That I can respect. Okay, fine. But I'll tell you what. This lawsuit reeks of stinky entitlement that I don't have to speak for myself. I don't have to actually go out and challenge these people. I'm not going to flip any tables. I'm just going to complain that the city won't do it for me. They should go and do it. I shouldn't have to speak up. It should be assumed that everybody knows how I feel. People don't know how you feel until you express yourself. So how about you go out and defend your businesses and tell these people to leave like this dude did? This dude is my new hero. This is my hero of the day. The table flipping man of CHAZ Chop. Flipping the tables. This dude rocks. You know why? He's taking action to stand up for what he believes in the face of violence and a mob. There have been multiple shootings at this place. This guy ain't having it. He didn't care. He says enough. And he pulls the barricades, throws them, flips the tables because he's willing to stand up in the face of danger and say, this is what I need. This is what I believe. Now listen. I will give some respect to the Chazians, to the Chazistanis or whatever. The Antifa-stanis, whatever. These are people who took what they wanted. And to an extent, I can respect that. No one stood in their way. They fought with the cops gave up, and this space became theirs. Hey, they stood up for what they believed in. Now I think it's stupid, and I think it needs to stop, and I think people of Seattle should have done something about it. But hey, out of any group involved, there is only one that actually said, we're going to fight for what we believe in. And it was the Chazistanis. Now this guy too. Now this is a guy I like because I don't know what his whole deal is, but I don't like what the Chazistanis are doing. I respect that they have the strength to do it, but I think they're bad. Now this guy, he has the strength to do it, and he's good. He didn't hurt anybody. He avoided, he lifted the barrier out of the way of the person. I think this guy made it's the right message. Flip over some tables, and you can argue, but it's property damage and all that stuff. It's people who are occupying public property without the right to do so. That's very different from throwing a brick through a window. And this guy stood up for himself. So I think the CHAZ will now start to go away. Now that we realize there's a dozen or so businesses that are speaking out finally, although their message is conflicted and pathetic. I'll leave it there. Next video is coming up at 1 p.m. on this channel, and I will see you all then.